Well, hello, welcome to episode 8 of the Go Live with Confidence show. This is powered by the wonders of Restream, and today I'm talking with the fabulous Jeff Sieh about how to be more confident with the tech of live video. So I think it's time to bring in Jeff onto the show. How are you doing, Jeff?
I am doing fabulous, Ian. I'm glad to be with you from across the pond, as they say, I guess.
Across the pond, yeah. And yeah. So you're dialing in from Texas, aren't you?
Texas, and we have power and water and all sorts of things here. Some people I saw in Mississippi still don't have any water. So we were very blessed we didn't have anything like that happen here.
Well, that's also, it seems that there's a lot of people involved with Restream from Texas. I can see we've got the fabulous Grace Duffy is here, and I think Grace is Texas as well.
Yeah, she's in Dallas. She's about 2.5 hours from me. So Grace is awesome.
Great to see you, Grace. And Anya as well is in the head office, which is in Texas. Awesome. So yeah, there was a few concerns with the power outage. So yeah, but yeah, is it back to normal across Texas now?
It is. I think a couple people, I mean, there's still some water issues from the breaks, but most of the people that I've talked to, at least in my area, have water, and flushing toilets are always nice. So
yes,
just gotta say.
Let's not talk about that.
Yes.
Well, if you're watching live, it's great to see you here. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And we've got people all around the world, which is awesome. And we're also broadcasting to Amazon Live today, which is a little bit more about that in a bit, because we're going to talk a little bit more about tech today, because usually on the show we're talking about mindset and how to communicate better. But tech is such a big part of live video that we felt it was a really important topic. And I couldn't think of anyone better to bring on than my pal from across the pond, Jeff. And we're going to be talking about microphones, cameras, and all that kind of thing. So let us know what your questions are when it comes to this.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, so what we're going to do, I'm going to just put Jeff back in the green room, and I will just be with you just after this. Hello, my name's Ian Anderson Gray, and in this episode of the Go Live with Confidence show, I'm joined by Jeff Sieh, and we're talking about how to be confident with the tech of live video. And I've completely lost. Where is my... There we go. I'm going to start there again. And I lost the button. Isn't that annoying when that happens? But anyway, yes, we're talking about how to be confident with the tech of live video, which is actually quite amusing because I couldn't find the button. But there you go. These things happen. We'll see you just after this. Or not. This is hilarious. I've lost the video. Let's bring in Jeff. There we go.
Hey, I break things when I come in. That's what I do.
Yeah, everything's gone really well. And
that's what happens when you bring a Texan and UK people together.
I know.
We'll start pouring tea in the harbor pretty soon. So, all sorts of things.
There we go. Anyway, that was supposed to be our intro video, but it is decided not to.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
Exactly. Yeah. So I can see we've got Sims watching from Madison, Wisconsin, which sounds awesome, a place to be. So Jeff, let us know a bit more about you, because last time you were on the show, we put you up as head beard of Mandy Pinterest Tips.
Yes.
But you have been doing other things recently. So tell us a little bit more about what you have been up to.
Yeah, the first of this year we started, and Grace Duffy is helping with this as well, as she's watching. I see the show called Social Media News Live, and we are broadcasting everywhere. And what we've done is we've actually taken what's happening in the world of social media and brought it out live. We go over, like last week we had the fabulous May King, who's a friend of yours as well, on to talk about Twitter Spaces, which is a new thing's coming out. So we're trying to keep everybody up to date what's going on in social media, and we do that live so people can ask their questions on the show. So it's a lot of fun. Still doing a lot of Pinterest stuff as well. I still do Tailwind Show, their live show, which is just going gangbusters, and doing other producing for people like Guy Kawasaki and Kim and Kim Garst and a bunch of other people. So yeah, I love live video. I'm excited to be here to talk about all the tech nerdy stuff that you and I, we don't even, we talk about it live, but we also talk about it a lot offline. So you guys get to dive deep into our little brains, our geeky brains.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to get it out of our system. Otherwise, our
right.
wives will divorce
Right, they
us
would go
or something.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't want that. David is watching from Massachusetts. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. So let us know what your questions are in the world of tech. What is it that in the world of tech makes you frustrated or stops you from being confident? And it's kind of quite funny today, actually, that all the tech issues that I've had. I think if that had happened maybe 2 years ago, I would have been really flustered. I'd have probably been quite tempted to press the end broadcast button. I don't know about you. When things go wrong, let's think about old Jeff, like two or 3 years ago, and new Jeff, the current Jeff. How have things changed for you when it comes to things going wrong and the way you cope with that?
Oh, they still go wrong all the time. In fact, but I still get flustered. And so that's the thing is like, you just got to know that because things live video. And so what happens with us, like Ian and I, who've been doing this forever, is that we add more layers of complexity to each show that we do. It seems like, or there's a new tech thing we're trying and it happens. So, 2 shows ago, I mean, this has happened recent. I had Stephanie Liu on, and the news was all about Amazon Live and all the different shopping things you could do. So I thought, oh, it'd be great to go on Amazon Live, and so I got it all set up, and it didn't work. And so if you actually watch the beginning of that show, like on Facebook or something, where you still have kind of the pre-show, you can see me flustered. And it happens, and that's okay. And just know, I think I get less flustered every time something bad happens, but it happens. It's going to happen again. I'm going to get flustered, and then you just have to take a deep breath. Don't hit the end button and go live. And so now, like today, right now, we're actually going live on Amazon right now. So you just work out the bugs and you keep going, and things are going to happen. But I still get flustered, but I probably wouldn't hit the end button unless like my power went out or something like that, which has happened.
Well, if the power went out, I think the end broadcast button would have done its thing anyway. So.
Right. It's fun. There's only one time that happened. My power went out and then it kicked right back on, and I was able to jump back in. It was for Tailwind. We were doing one of their shows, and I was able to jump back in, and they were still there, and we were able to continue the show. And so,
yes,
you just have to do it. The show must go on. That's the way, that's the way it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, a similar thing happened to me, actually. The power, we had a lightning strike. The power went off, and I was using Restream Studio, actually, and I didn't realize this, but it keeps on streaming. Mm-hmm. Even if you go out as the host. And so I was able to kind of boot back up again, go in, and we could carry on with the live broadcast. So I was really quite happy about that because it's quite, not a good thing. So I can see Martin Buckland, who we both know.
Right.
We met Martin in London a few years ago.
Yes, that's a
great
one.
And Martin says, tech frustrates me more than anything else. What specifically, Martin? Is there anything that we can do to help? Because we feel you.
Yeah, and it does happen. I mean, you just have to, as long as you can keep, I mean, it's all right to go, hey, just a second, I'm going to try to fix something. And you make a joke about it. I always say, well, talk amongst yourselves, and I try to fix it, and do it that way. And it's going to happen. And you can cut that part out for when you're repurposing it later. Ian did that at the beginning of the show. You saw him stop, and then he continued. So he knew he had an edit point to go to, so he can add that video that he needs to put in later. So you just learn the little tricks, and yes, you'll get flustered, but just take a deep breath and go on, and your audience will understand. In fact, this is a little thing that I don't do it for my live shows, but when I used to, in college, I used to do a lot of how I paid for college. I did performance magic. I went around and I did it I actually worked at an amusement park and did all this other stuff. But I would actually, the first part of my trick, I would mess something up, because that would, and pretend like it was a mess up, and then I would, it would be a big reveal at the end. But messing up endears yourself to the audience. They understand, because like, oh my gosh, Ian's just like me. I struggle with tech too, and my video didn't work the last week when I tried. And so you don't want to do it on purpose like I did, but there is something to say that people connect with. Everybody makes mistakes, and things don't work. And this is still kind of the Wild West of live video. We have in our pocket now a television studio that we could not even dream about 10 years ago. So it's just kind of amazing that all this stuff actually works in the first place.
Yeah, you're so right. And it is amazing that all the tech works together. I mean, if you think about all the stuff that's going on, I mean, I've got a Stream Deck, I've got a microphone, I've got a Rodecaster Pro. We'll talk about some of these things in a minute, but it's amazing that it all works. And
Right.
but the other thing to say is that I think it's really important to start simply. You know, I think you went back in a time machine and showed like the Jeff of 4 or 5 years ago what you've currently got set up, it would probably blow that Jeff's mind.
It
completely.
would. It would. Yeah. There's tons of stuff. I mean, I remember when the thing was like when you couldn't go live. You know, when you went live, you could only pull comments from one place. Well, now with Restream Studio, I mean, it's coming from everywhere. I see them from YouTube and Facebook, and that blows my mind. I thought we'd never get there, and that allows us to go live everywhere and still have the community and content. So, you know, the software that Restream has, and that it works, and we can do that, and it shows you what avatar they're coming from. That still blows my mind a little bit. Don't tell them, because they get a big head or something, but it's a really cool piece of software.
It is like, and I think underneath, I think what a lot of people don't know is underneath in the bowels of, that's not the right word to use, of Restream.
No,
it's not the engine room of Restream. That's better. Is all these, you know, the kind of the computer code, the server power and all that kind of stuff that's going on is just unbelievable. And you know, so I can see some comments coming, which we'll definitely answer. I can see a comment from David, thank you for that, from Panda Pro Squad. So keep those questions coming. But just on this, you know, we're broadcasting to lots of different places: Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn Live, Mixcloud, Periscope. Just about, it's still alive, Periscope, but
and
also
Amazon Live,
and Amazon Live. We're broadcasting to your Amazon Live. And so Amazon Live's a bit different. So you said you had some issues with Amazon Live last time. And because we're using Restream Studio and Restream, that we can do some cool things to get it working. So let us know a little bit more about your experience with Amazon Live and how you got it working.
So it's the same thing like back in the day. If you remember Periscope, you had to start like a stream and then you had to go to your phone and click on, you know, go, and you had to change some encoder settings because actually Restream actually sends it out too high of a quality for Amazon Live to handle. So you have to use Restream, and they have an encoder setting that lets you kind of dumb down the signal so Amazon can see it. And so that's what I had to do with Restream. And Ian's the cool thing too is like he can share stuff. I gave him my code, and so he can stream on my account, and then we can cross stream and all this cool stuff that Restream does. So that's the thing. You have to have an influencer account. Or be like a verified seller on Amazon. I have the influencer account that I had set up from ages ago, and so that allows you to set up and stream to Amazon Live, which I think is really, really cool. And if you look over on Amazon Live, like right now, I have my podcast, which because it's on Amazon Music, I can highlight down below. But I can also, people are asked, there's some questions of like, you know, what mic are you using? I can click on that, and it's highlighted down below in the carousel. And if I talk about, my Rodecaster Pro, which I use to my soundboard that I plug my mic into, I can click on that and it goes and it's highlighted down below. So it's really kind of interactive, and I can look at questions that come across the stream as well. So I'm really stoked about what's going on over at Amazon. So don't tell any other live streamers because I want to keep it for myself. So it's a hush hush kind of thing. That. So yeah. So, but yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity between that and Facebook selling. Stephanie Liu has a bunch of great stuff on selling on Facebook and Amazon. And so she's really helped me out a lot too. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, and the great thing that I've realized with Restream, there are two ways you can broadcast to Restream. So you can use the likes of OBS Studio or Ecamm Live. You could use a third-party tool to broadcast to Restream. And with that, you have to do what you've just been saying, Jeff, which is if you're broadcasting to YouTube and Facebook at 1080p, you can't broadcast to Amazon Live like that. So what you can do is you can purchase transcoding, which is sounds very complicated, but all that does, it basically Restream will downgrade the quality of your live stream for Amazon. But what I didn't realize, if we're using Restream Studio, which is what I'm using today, so Restream Studio works within the browser. I brought you in. You can have up to 9 guests. You don't need the transcoding. It will just automatically stream at the right resolution to Amazon. So it's just easy. You
didn't have to do transcoding at all.
No.
Oh, that's really good. So that's important because some of the other web-based software things, when you had to dumb down all your signals, there was no way to because for me, like, because I use, Ecamm to go live, is that I don't want to, because I want the high quality for YouTube and I want it for all those other networks. And so I just wanted to do one channel. I didn't want to be like some of the other platforms that you have to dumb down your entire everywhere. And so that was really, that made a big difference for me for Restream being able to do that. But that's even better that I can just go live inside of Studio and just go, boom, it's done.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Important tip.
Definitely. Yeah. So we've got an important question from Panda Pro Squad asking, do you like pandas? I mean, I think that's a silly question. Who doesn't like pandas?
Like to eat? Aren't they endangered? I mean, is that, I don't think that's, or it's like Texas, we, eat anything, but I love pandas. They're some of my favorite animals.
Exactly. Yeah. That's an obvious answer to that question. So we've got a question from Thabo who's asking, is it better to use the lapel type of microphone or the boom as you are using? And secondly, do you really need a set of headphones? I think those are really good questions. So what's your view on that, Jeff?
So you can use a lapel type microphone. A lot of people use that. Since Ian and I this is like a podcast, and I do a lot of podcasting, I really like the dedicated mic where I can sound really good and listen to the sound of my voice. I really like that. And this is a High-LP R40. Love their microphones. I just think they sound good, and it goes into my Rodecaster Pro, then out to the interwebs. But there's a couple different options. A lot of people, like if you look at Pat Flynn's setup where he does his live streaming, he's been doing it every day on Saturdays. He actually has a shotgun microphone right out of the top of you can't see it. It's right out of the frame, and he uses a shotgun microphone, and he has that set up on a boom, which is really, really cool. But you can, what was the other part of the question? Oh, so I like these because I can really get into it, and I can, get close to the mic if I want. Lapels are fine. The boom microphones are fine. It's going to sound different for everybody's voice. I just really like the way my voice sounded with the High-LP R40. So, and I like the boom getting it out of the way. I used to have a Yeti, a Blue Yeti. I used that for years for my live streams. And a lot of people have that on a base, or you can actually get an arm and suspend it from an arm. And I did that as well. So that's really cool. Yeah, and the headphone question, yes, you should use headphones. You don't have to have big Mickey Mouse like headphones like Ian's wearing, but you can, like, these are like $15 monitor earphones that are in that I just got from Amazon, and they have a really long cord on them. I bought an extension, and you can't really see them. And so I really like these because you can't see them, but I would recommend using wired headphones, and I'll tell you why, because I've had that my AirPod Pros just disconnect in the middle of a broadcast and I can't hear anything. So I don't do Bluetooth headphones anymore because of that reason. And the reason you wear them is, one, you can monitor what's going on, but also you don't have feedback. If you have your speakers turned up, and Ian was asking me a question, you can hear people, you can hear either an echo, and I know Restream Studio has echo cancellation, but still, it doesn't, it's not perfect. And I want to have, really great sound, because I know Ian does too, because he wants to repurpose it. And so that's why we wear headphones. And that's why I actually ask guests when they come on, part of the onboarding process, hey, please use plug-in headphones. Even even ones that come with your phone, use those, because it makes a big difference.
And that can sometimes be a challenging thing, convincing your guest to wear headphones or earbuds. I mean, sometimes they just don't want to wear them, but there is a reason, I think, because I've had guests on that haven't worn them, and even with the best software in the world, there can sometimes be that echo, and it just isn't good. And I think arguably, and I would assume you would agree with me, the most important part of a live stream is not the video, it's the audio. I think if people can't hear you, or if the audio quality is bad, people are going to switch off. What's your view on that?
Yeah, and a lot of times, I know you get the question too, Ian. It's like, what should I upgrade first? And I'm always like, your mic. Upgrade your mic first, because that makes the biggest difference. And then you can upgrade cameras. But like, you could use your phone, and even so, let's say you have a really limited budget. You're just doing it from a phone. Well, the first thing I would say, well, then you get some good plug-in, something that you plug in and actually not use the mic on your camera, and do it that way. So yeah, so the mic is the first thing I would upgrade. And like the Blue Yeti is a really good one for getting started. what did you use before you went to your Heil PR40?
Yeah, so I used the Blue Yeti as well,
Right.
and the Blue Yeti is great. It's a condenser microphone.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really nice. The only thing about it is that it's almost like so good at picking up sound that if the kids are in the other room or somebody else is in the house, it can pick that up. So I always recommend bring it up as close to you as possible and put the gain down. The other microphone that I really like is the Samsung Qtu microphone, which is actually less expensive than the Yeti. It doesn't look quite as sexy, but it's a dynamic microphone, and I quite like that one. That's another one you could think of.
So I remember with the Blue Yeti, I had the gain knob on that thing is really wonky. It would be like you just barely tap it and go really loud, and so you really had to adjust it. And I actually had the Blue Yeti Pro, which gave you an option to have a USB plug-in or to plug it into like a pro level soundboard with a XLR jack at the back. And I really used that a lot. It was great to have the USB option, like when I would do remote things. But most of the time I would have it. I really like the XLR connection, the kind of the pro connections into a soundboard or something like that.
Awesome. That's really cool. Well, I hope that answers your question on microphones. We could talk a lot more about microphones, about the difference and what we'd recommend. I mean, Jeff and I recommend dynamic microphones. They are in picture. So, condenser microphone you can have slightly out of shot, or a lapel mic. If you're looking for that kind of thing, that's fine. But we just prefer dynamic. It just gives you the best quality for an untreated room, unless you're going to spend lots of money on sound paneling and all that kind of stuff. Now, David is asking a question here. How do you get the Restream bot to put the Facebook comments on? Jeff, have you fiddled around with the Restream bot?
No, I'm scared of doing that because I'm always scared of bots and Skynet and taking over the world. So I don't. I like to bring them up on screen because, a lot of times I'll either read the question or I need some clarification, and I want to be in control of that. And so I don't know I think you can set it so it can take the bots off after a certain amount of time, but I don't know about, do they automatically come on? Have you ever played with that? I haven't.
So what I've got set up, I'm just going to see if that, you should never do this kind of thing live on the show, but let's see if I can share my screen and let's see what happens. Let's see if this works.
You're going to break it. No,
break it. Now, how do there we go. But where are we?
We're gone. I can see your screen though.
You can see my screen. Well, that's the main thing. So, I've actually downloaded the Restream chat app, which you can download for PC or Mac. You don't have to do this. You can do this within the browser as well. But under settings, so I can see we've got all the comments there across all our different channels. But I can also go down to, so one thing I do want to talk about is, first of all, there's the reply commands, which is great. So here you can create all these comments ahead of time. So for example, at the beginning of the show, I've got, thanks for watching, let me know where in the world you're watching from. So if I put !1 in the comments, Restream will convert that into that text. So it's a quick and easy way of doing that, which is awesome. Now the bot, so what the bot does, I'll just read what it says here. Relay automatically forwards all incoming chat messages from each platform to all other active platforms set up on Restream. All Restream bots will be promoted to moderators on Relay-supported channels. So what this will do is if somebody comments on Facebook, that will be pushed over to YouTube, and the same for YouTube will push over to Facebook. And it's a great way for other commenters to be able to see comments on other platforms. So I have that switched on. So that's a really cool way to do it. So yeah, it's definitely something to play around on.
But it doesn't bring it doesn't bring them automatically on screen. You still have to do that, correct?
Yes, no, that's a good point. So it just brings it into the comments or the chat on YouTube. If you want to highlight them on screen, then for example here I'm going to add, this is from Grace actually. Grace didn't realize you were a magician.
Yes.
I'm learning new things today.
I had rabbits and doves, Grace. I had all that stuff. Yeah.
You need to bring it on next time you're on the show.
I had a giant white rabbit, and his name was Larry Bird because he was a white rabbit and he couldn't jump very far. So, and Larry Bird was a famous NBA. Never mind. It's over your UK head. It's all right. Yeah, sorry. That's okay. Somebody else will get it. Yeah.
Let's move on. So Martin says, as you know, I have conquered being live in front of the camera. Now I have LinkedIn Live, which is exciting news because I know, Martin, you were. How many times did you apply for LinkedIn Live? Oh my goodness. I think it was like 3 or 4 times, but I haven't gone live since I gained permission. What's going on, Martin? I just stick to my regular Facebook Live Tuesdays at 2. Okay, Martin, I didn't know this. I know that you were so excited about going live on LinkedIn. What's going on here? Is this a tech issue or something else? Let us know how you can help. Are you going live on LinkedIn, Jeff?
Oh yeah, it's one of my most active engaged channels. I really think if you haven't applied for it, you need to apply, because I know they're letting more people in, and I just think it's a really good platform. It's, at least for me, it's been a really good platform.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was very good for me at the start. It's not quite as, I don't get so much engagement as I used to, but it's still, I definitely love LinkedIn. And I think so it's interesting, Martin's actually commenting on Facebook. So one of the things you can do on Restream is see where people are commenting. Although I'm on LinkedIn, I think Martin is commenting on Facebook. So now we've got a question here from Sims, who says, we are live streaming concerts, a trio, all close mic'd into sound devices, into Restream and to Facebook and YouTube. How do you smooth it out? Sometimes it's chapter, not always synced. So
chopped, I think it means chopped.
Chopped, yeah. So I wonder whether that is just the levels are too high. So I wonder whether they're using a mixer there. Any thoughts on that, Jeff?
So stream to Facebook and YouTube. YouTube's going to have your better quality probably. So if it's smooth on YouTube, it's probably a Facebook kind of issue. It's probably your internet upload speed. And that's one of the things, a lot of people don't realize, that it's not just, they say, oh, I've got, 100K, 100 megabytes down, and that's great, but you need upload speed. And so I know, like when at our church, when we were streaming the service, that they hardly had any upload speed. They had plenty of download speed. Their upload speed was pretty stinky. And it was really hard to get a smooth signal out, and they're still dealing with that today. They have higher speeds, but it's still not very consistent. So it really varies. So look at that, do like speedtest.net and see that your upload speed is good at that location. It could also be the time of day, actually. When people are home and their kids are on Netflix all the time. I remember I would see a dip when school was out and people came home and turned on Netflix. And so I could see a dip there. So look at those things to see what's going on with your speed. And then, I would also record it. Like if there's a way for, like, you can just record your session too. Is it on your recorded session as well? Then that would tell me there's something wrong with your mic. Like Ian was saying, it's peaking somewhere, or the levels aren't set right or something like that.
Yeah, really good tips there. So thank you for that, Jeff. Now, Irvin's saying, this is interesting, you might set your audio levels the same because Ian is way quieter. So now that might be because this is actually a new feature in Restream. So Grace also says, how do you control volume levels for you and your guest if your audio tech is not at the same level? And this is something that a lot of people have been asking for. If you're going live in Restream Studio, what if you've got a different volume level to your guest? And one of the things I was playing around with is in Restream you can now change. You've got little levels that you can change. We can change the levels of Jeff's audio and my audio. And I think inadvertently I pumped Jeff's volume up and mine down. So now if you speak, I'm going to put you down to 50%. You say something.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. This is Ian breaking Restream Studio, ladies and gentlemen.
So that's Jeff at 40. So I'm going to put Jeff up to maybe
testing
like 85, and I've put myself up to 120. So if this is one of the things that I would recommend that people do before you go live, it's in your checklist just to check those levels and see where your level. So I can see my green bar is going up to about 70 or 80%. And for Jeff, you say something?
I'm saying something right now. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
Hopefully we're about the same level there. So yeah, this is a new feature in Restream Studio.
That's really
which
cool.
I'm really excited about.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. This is cool, but definitely don't do what I did and play around with it live on a
And
show.
forget. See, that wasn't my setup. That was Ian's.
Yeah, blame me. It was good. Carl says, "I want to see Jeff pull Ian out of a hat." That would certainly
That
be a
would be
trick.
something. Yes, it would. Especially, yeah, we'll have to try that sometime. We'll have to do something maybe in front of a green screen or something. So
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering about where would you put the Atlantic Ocean? That's what I'm
yeah,
wondering
that would
about.
be an issue. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a new feature. Yeah, in Restream. So I know. So Irvin says, bring them into a master switcher. Yeah, you can do all those kind of things, but now in Restream Studio, you've got that ability to do it within, which is really great.
That is
so
cool.
This is Sims is asking a question here. So what kind of numbers for your upload speed? And just before you answer that, Jeff, what I'd always recommend is just check your speed before you go live. So I download the app, the speedtest.net app.
Mm-hmm.
It works on PC, Mac, Android, and iPhone. And just check your upload speed before you go live. But any thoughts on what kind of upload speed we should be looking at to get consistent results?
So I tell everybody the minimum is 10 megabytes per second up. I think that's the minimum to go live with. And if you want to get as much as you possibly can. Isn't that what you recommend? I mean, that may have changed with some of the software, but that works. That was working for me, and I haven't really checked lately.
So I think that is my recommended one. I would say 10 megabits per second, but like some people are not going to get that. So I think the bare minimum I would recommend is 4, because actually you can get a good, not necessarily 1080p. You can get a good like 720p live stream at probably between 2 and 3, which means if you have 4, that gives you a little bit of wiggle room. The problem is, it's not going to be consistently 4, so it's going to go down and then up again. The thing with 10, if you have 10, you've got loads of space there. You can go 1080p, right. And there's other apps running on your computer that may suck some of that as well. So you're just going to be, if you want to kind of be more confident with your tech, then make sure you have a good upload speed. That solves not all known problems, but a lot of them.
And one of the things that I tell my guests when they come on my show all the time, please turn off Skype. It's a notorious bandwidth hog. Turn off Dropbox and Google Drive. All of those things that might, in the middle of your show, start, trying to sync and like pulling some of your upload speed and all that kind of stuff. So I always turn off all of those things. Yes. And it's really funny. And also it's amazing how many guests I have on who have 120 tabs open on their computer. I'm like, why don't you just shut that down? Just shut it down a little bit, still after the show. And the other thing is, if you need to do a test with a guest, and it drives me bonkers, and I've had more than one guest do this, is we'll do a test the day before, and then they'll call in for the show in a different location. And I'm like, that doesn't help me at all. Why did you do that? Because you need to be at the same location, hopefully at the same time if you're doing it a different day, because I really do think time matters in office buildings and at home. And do your test that way, because those things are variables that can factor into the smoothness of your stream.
So true. And the other thing that solves almost all known problems is to restart your computer. I don't know whether you do this, but I always restart my computer about 20 minutes before I go live. I then close down as many apps as I can in the background. Irvin says, this is great. And apparently it sounds good now. So there we go. That's the levels, the ability to change the levels of your guest and yourself in Restream Studio. That is thumbs up for that. Irvin says, double what you need. Double than what you need. So if you have a very stable connection for yourself, you can probably go up to 80%. So, and it also says never use Wi-Fi. Never say never.
You can say that to your guests, but a lot of times they'll say, well, I don't like they're in an office building or something, like I don't have plugged in, because a lot of them now don't. And so you can ask for it all you want, but some people don't even know where that cord goes. So
well, and if you have like a modern laptop, like I've got a MacBook Pro, it has 4 Thunderbolt ports. Right. You need to get a dongle if you want to do that. Now, interestingly, I always recommend. So I have a guest checklist, and I say, ideally use Chrome or Firefox. Please use a computer. Please use headphones. Check your internet speed. It needs to be at least this. I mean, I don't know how many guests read that, but I say all of that, make it really simple.
Yeah.
And I also say, ideally, please plug directly in. Now, we call them routers. I think you call them routers, whatever you want to call them.
Routers, like router. That's funny.
Routers, yes.
Okay.
So there we go. But I feel a complete hypocrite because I'm not connected via. I'm actually Wi-Fi, and the reason for that is it's actually bizarrely. I've got this mesh Wi-Fi system, and my router is right next to my computer, and I actually get higher speeds using that. My upload speeds are really quite high. I get better speed. So just do your testing and find out what's better for you. But it's not just the speed; it's also the stability of it as well, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Stability is a big deal. Yeah. So just kick your kids off Netflix. In fact, what we do is like, I set Alexa alarm because my wife teaches from home because of the lockdown stuff. And so we have, like, before this show, I set Alexa to go off like 10 minutes before, which is her signal to get on her hotspot and not use the internet. Because I even do that because she'll suck it all out. I mean, if it's a computer, she could break it like that. So we have that kind of relationship that I tell her.
She's not watching, is she?
No, she's not. She will maybe watch it later, so I got to be careful.
So you better be careful. Yeah.
So we ration internet in the house, and I used to do that with the kids. I'm like, you have to turn off Netflix. It's done, and I would actually, I use the circle, which is a thing that I can control with my app, and I could kill the internet in the house, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's smart, and also things like tablets and phones. I mean, in the middle of your live, it could decide to download the latest update of the operating system, and that's going to suck a lot of bandwidth. So just things like that, and add that to your checklist, because the thing is, you might think you're going to remember those things, but if you're like me,
you have to have a checklist.
You're not going to do that. So I hope that answers your question. I'm not entirely sure what this question is from Akin, but
can you do a 24-hour stream? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now I think so this is like every network has a different length. So I think on Facebook, it used to be possible to actually do an ambient live stream, but I think they silently got rid of that. On YouTube, though, so I think on Facebook, the maximum is 8 hours. On YouTube, I think it's a lot longer, but I think it might be 24 hours. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, because like they do that stuff like with the Eagle Cam where you have it up in a nest and people watch that all the time. And you'd have to check on each platform because each one, like you said, is different. So you can do long streams like that, like 24-hour streams or even in longer, but you're going to have to check with the network. And I think Restream will go as long as you have it, but the network is what's going to kick you off.
So that's important. So Restream is not going to kick you off. Restream will do whatever you want it to do as long as it's obeying the rules of the destination. So if YouTube supports that, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're going, you just need to check those. I hope that answers your question. Henry is watching from Colombia. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Great to see you again. Katie Simpson is here. Awesome to see you, Katie. I'm very excited. You're getting your Stream Deck tomorrow. Katie was the prize winner in my Confident Live giveaway a few weeks ago. And she's also got her Heil PR40. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's how you're getting on with that. So we've talked about audio a lot, and we've explained why we think that's important. But how about all the other stuff? I mean, I suppose we could talk about the Rodecaster Pro. That's another audio thing.
Right. You just go ahead. You're going to say something.
Yeah. Let's maybe talk about that first, and then I think it's important to think about cameras and lighting maybe, and any other stuff like Stream Decks. What other stuff do you think we need when we go live?
You don't need. Well, we're going to talk about. You don't need to go live. I'd rather have you guys go live and start getting used to, the key thing to all of this is, for me, is always using a software like Restream that you can pull up comments. That's the most important thing that you need to learn how to do. Otherwise, just upload a YouTube video the whole thing about live video and why I love live video is being able to interact with people and say, like Irvin said, and never use Wi-Fi, never say never, and interact with people like, oh, Grace is here. Oh, I'm so glad to see Grace again. That is what builds your brand. That's what builds the connection with your audience. Otherwise, just upload it. So what I would say, first of all, is get real comfortable with Restream Studio and how to bring up comments, lower thirds, stuff like that. And then you can move on to upgrading your stuff. But to get the first thing you want to learn how to do is to do, interaction with the comments. And if you notice and follow Ian, you'll see how he has like kind of a run of show where he starts like, okay, I'm going to, hey, this is Ian, bring up some comments. Then he does some teaching. Then he stops and does some comments again. And that looks easy, and Ian makes it look really easy, but that takes practice, and that takes him being focused on his run of show and doing it over and over and over again, and gets more comfortable with that. That's what I would say to do first. And get real comfortable with the software you're using to go live, bring up those comments, interact with the guest, and then you can go up to, a new microphone, a new camera, something like that.
Definitely. That was, by the way, that was a perfect impression of me. That's how I sound on my live shows. Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe, if I'm feeling sick next week, I'll just get you on, and people will not notice the difference.
They won't. They won't at all. Yeah. But before we end the show today, I want to make sure that I want to know what like the last piece of tech was that you bought, and I'll tell you what mine is, because I think that'd be interesting for people.
That's a really good, good point. Yeah. So the last piece of tech.
You don't have to do it now. We can talk about the Rodecaster now if you want.
Well, yeah. So I'd be interested to know from, if you're watching live, what was the last piece of tech you bought? I think that's a really good question, and I think the answer to me for me, I think, is the piece of kit that we're going to talk about now, which is the Rodecaster. I think that's the last big. Oh, actually, no, I lie. You're just showing off. So the Rodecaster was the second last, the penultimate piece of kit. I actually bought a second Elgato key light, so I've now got two in front of me, and this is all your fault, Jeff, because I said to you, Jeff, I said, I'm thinking about getting a second Elgato key light. Have you got two? Do you think it's worth it? And I can't remember exactly what you said, but you didn't discourage me, okay?
No, so, we're very, very bad for each other. We really are. If our wives knew, they would never let us come together.
I know, my bank balance.
Right.
But anyway, yes, I'm really happy with the second one. But let's talk about the Rodecaster Pro. So this is not, if you're starting off with Restream Studio, you've got your microphone. This is not for you now.
Yeah, you don't need it. No,
you don't need it. But let's talk about what is the Rodecaster Pro and why would we want to get it?
So the Rodecaster Pro is a soundboard, and I had a little mini soundboard, and if you haven't one, that's fine to use, but it's built for podcasters. It's actually a piece of kit that you can take with you, and you can have up to 4 mics into it. They all can have headphones. You can adjust level. That's a 4-channel. Well, it's more than that. It's 4, 5, 6, 7 channel, I think is what it is, because you can hook up your phone. A lot of people are using it right now to use it to have really good sound when they go on Clubhouse. But it can record your podcast with on mini SD. You heard me earlier doing sound effects, like when Ian was talking a lot of times I like to use crickets, but you can do cool stuff like that. So it's nothing that you need to have, but it makes podcasting, and you can actually have people call in using your phone. You can plug in your phone and have like a call-in show. So it's really cool things that lets you really do some really techie, stuff, and one of the reasons I like it is because there's a lot of processing that goes into it to make my voice doesn't sound like this in real life, but because it has what's called a big bottom and an FX I have a big bottom, but it actually has a thing on it called big bottom that allows you to sound. A lot of radio producers use it, and it's built right into the Rodecaster. So having that compression and stuff, for me, it was really cool because of so much podcasting that I do.
It is awesome. So all the processing. So actually, I wonder whether I can just
turn it off.
Try this. So if I go to channel 1, go to audio processing, I'm going to switch mine off and see if you can tell the difference. So this is just me without audio processing. Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, you sound good. Yeah.
Okay. So now audio processing on. And there you go.
Yeah, it just has that little richness to it. And you can set it for male, female, deep, medium, high voices. And they made it so it's it's super simple for everybody to use. So it was like a podcasting in a box pretty much. And they are pricey. They're about $600 now. But they just were, I set mine and don't ever think about it again. I mean, I really don't. So
it's definitely one of those things that you don't need from the start, but if you have some budget, it's one of those things I think is going to last you a long time. There's nothing really, there's not really anything that you would upgrade to. You could get a mixer, like a 12-channel mixer if you really wanted it afterwards and all this kind of stuff. But really, I think it's a great investment. And you've got these little sound buttons, which I don't really use, but you got things like that. Things like that,
yes.
So yeah, that's the Rodecaster Pro. I can see Grace is saying what her latest tech was. Mine was more like tech support. I bought a boom arm for my mic, which is cool, and I just set up my Elgato key light, but I only have one. That's okay. I only had one for ages, and it worked really well. But I was just jealous of Jeff, so I got a second one. Don't get a third, please, Jeff, because it's going to be.
But I like Elgato stuff. I have their green screen. I have 2 of their key lights. I have their Stream Deck, which we should talk about. But I also have their multi-mount system now, which has my camera on it. I have a standing desk, and so the cool thing is everything goes up with me. My lights are on the desk, and my camera's on my desk. And so when I move it to stand, everything moves at the same time, and I don't have to worry about adjusting my camera. So, speaking of the Stream Deck, so I think that's my last piece of, is it my last? I think it is. So I had the smaller Stream Deck, and I was noticing when I was starting to do stuff for Ecamm, like when I pull up, like I have like lower thirds that come up like this and stuff. But what I would do is I was running out of room. So I got the Stream Deck XL. So I have the big one and the small one. So I have all sorts of cool stuff on my desk right now. So and the cool thing with the Stream Deck is that you can control like your key lights. Like I can turn off my lights just like this and turn them back on. I can adjust the brightness. Right. Yeah. Ian's showing what the Stream Deck looks like. And you can program all those buttons. I actually have my logo come up when it's not on. You can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. I use it for editing. Like when I go back and editing, you can actually do hotkeys for editing things, keyboard shortcuts on your computer. And so it's just a really, really cool piece of technology. And that's one, before I would get lights or something, I'd probably get a Stream Deck because of the cool stuff. Like Ian can bring up comments and shut them down and do overlays and all sorts of things with the Stream Deck. So I really, really like it. So multifunction. It's really something I really recommend.
It is cool. You can play sound effects like things like that. It is fun. They are fun. It's definitely in the that you don't need one category, but I love the Stream Decks, and it's the tactile feel of it as well. Yes. The way you can click the buttons. By the way, if it is, they're not cheap. So another option is if you have, I think it's just for iPhone. I'm not entirely sure, but the Elgato also do an iPhone app. Yeah. So of the Stream Deck. So it's not got that tactile feel, but you can use your phone as a Stream Deck if you want. So I haven't played around with it. We've got a great comment here from Carl who says, Jeff is magic. He doesn't need lights. And I would agree with that.
Yes. So I guess this may be I can't remember. I really don't know if this is the Stream Deck XL or this. Yeah, that was the last one. But I'll tell you the one thing that I think has upgraded my my production the most in a while is I have the Parrot teleprompter, the what is it called? The Padcaster that goes and my phone fits underneath it. And so what I've started doing, and it would always bother me when I would do my show, and Grace and I, when we did it for another company, was the same thing, is like when I would have somebody on, and we talk a lot about the news. So like we get stuff from The Verge and stuff, and there's a lot of tech stuff we have to talk, and you have to use notes. And it would always bother me when I'd be doing a introduction of somebody or something like that, when I'd be like, oh, hey, welcome to the show, Ian Anderson Gray. He is the Confident Live Master, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be looking down like that, and it would drive me bonkers. And so since I started the show, I've been using the Padcaster, and I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking right through the glass, and you cannot tell that I am reading stuff. And I found an app that I love called Teleprompter Premium, and it's a premium version for iOS, and I think it's just for iOS. But it allows me to control the scroll and everything with my phone, with my desktop, because I can have a window open on my desktop or my iPad. So a lot of times I'll be sitting there and I'll just be flicking and I'll be reading the notes, and you cannot tell because it's so close to me, and I have the margin so close it doesn't look like my eyeballs are. You can see those things on the cheap commercials, probably at your local, your fire sale and the mattress company around your, that do those cheesy commercials. You can see them going, "Hi, welcome. We have a show today. We're talking," and you see their eyes going and reading. And so this is just amazing, and you really can't tell. So that's my super secret thing for when you want to have the confidence of having notes, but also looking like you don't have them, and you're able to read right from looking right at the camera.
That's a great tip. Thank you for that. Yeah, I use an iPad teleprompter. I'm not overly happy with it. I think.
Oh, you'd love this, man. You would dig it. It's really cool.
The only problem is that, you see, I'm using an old iPad. I would have to find an old phone that would support it.
Don't you have an iPhone?
I do, but then I might want to use it for.
Well, I use my iPad, so I use my phone. I don't. That was the only thing is how do I? Because you have to start. We talked about earlier. How do you start Amazon Live? I'm like, oh, crud! I put my phone in the teleprompter, but you can start it with your iPad, and so there you go.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. No. Fair enough point.
It's a lot better to have that hanging off, because my camera is I can touch it. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah.
Having an iPad in front of my face would not be comfortable, and this thing is just sits right up there and you can't see it, and it's perfect. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I'm definitely get it. So I'm going to be moving house hopefully in about a month's time. So
yeah,
I'm in a sense building my studio from scratch, because at the moment this is one thing it doesn't have to be all high tech. I've got a very high tech, sarcasm alert by the way, standing desk solution. I've got an IKEA desktop which is propped up by 4 paint pots on top of my desk. And it's not height adjustable, I'll tell you that. But it's a standing desk, and it works really well. And I've got my MacBook Pro is on a couple of box files just to raise it up a little bit. So you don't have to go for high-tech right from the start, but you can build up your studio slowly over time. And that's, I think, what we've both done, Jeff, isn't it? We have all of this stuff right from the start. That didn't stop us from getting on with it. So we've talked about microphones, we've talked about things like the Redcaster Pro, we've talked about teleprompters, we've talked about Stream Decks, we've also talked about software using the likes of Restream Studio. What we haven't talked about is the kind of thing that you'd think would be the first thing we'd talk about, and that's the camera. Why haven't we been talking about cameras? And tell us a little bit more about your view on cameras.
So cameras are, I love cameras, but when I first started, and this is back in the Google Plus days, so that'll give you an idea when live video was really starting, is that I used just I used my iMac camera. I did that for a long time. Then I moved up to the C920, Logitech C920, which is still a great camera, and it's hard to find them now because of the quarantine, but before you could really, get them, and find them, and they're great cameras. They still are. And then I upgraded to the Logitech Brio, which, but I probably used the 920 for probably 4 years before I upgraded to the Logitech Brio. And I still use the Brio for when I do my wood carving show, where I have a second camera pointing down to the carving. I use my Logitech Brio for that because it is a 4K camera. So I really like that. And then I upgraded to what I'm using right now is a mirrorless camera, which is the Canon EOS M50. And I think that's what you're using as well, Ian. Yeah. And that it attaches right to the Padcaster. It's small. It has a great quality to it. You have to do a little finagling so it's always on. I have a fake battery in it. And I come in, and the cool thing is I'm using Ecamm's virtual camera, and that's the cool thing is you can use it in Zoom or whatever using that virtual camera, and I'm able to go in and use that in all these different productions that I do, and I have the small lens on it that gives me a kind of that blurry background you see, and yeah, I love. But you don't have to have all that. Seriously, I did use the C920. Out of all the time I'm streaming, that's probably what I use, the camera that I used the most before I upgraded.
Yeah, same. So it sounds like we've got a similar.
You copied me. Go ahead and say it. It's all right.
I didn't use my inbuilt laptop camera because it was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I did start with the C920 and it lasted me ages and I really liked it.
Yeah. And I love the Brio too. I think that's what Grace uses. I'm not sure, but it's a really good camera as well. But yeah, so if you can find one, grab the Logitechs are really good cameras. I really recommend them. And then you can, if you just want to spend money, then you can get better cameras. But those will, the Logitech really does really, really well. So
definitely recommend. So Grace, let us know if you're still here. Grace, let us know what camera you use, and just let all of you watching let us know which camera you use and what your experience has been. You've got to find really the best camera for your budget. And but the thing with cameras, unlike some of the other things we're talking about, I think with cameras you can upgrade over time. So maybe just start with your inbuilt camera. Then if you can find a C920 around, go for that. If you can justify the cost of the Brio, go for that. And then of course above that there are all the DSLR and mirrorless camera options, which obviously is going to cost you a lot more money, but that gives you much more of a professional look. But as we said at the beginning, audio, in our opinion, is more important. So we would recommend starting off upgrading your microphone first. And we've given you some recommendations there. So how's Amazon Live going? Is it still ticking along?
It's cool. And it's fun because like when you're talking, we talk about camera, I'm able to highlight stuff. And like right now I'm going back to like I said, if you have a podcast, the cool thing is if it's on Apple Music, you can actually highlight your podcast on there to get people to subscribe. So that's pretty cool little feature on Amazon Live that my friend Jim Fuse told me about that I did not even know. That's what's so cool about live streaming community. And I know Restream has a great community. I know you're broadcasting there as well. Is live streamers are really some of the most giving people. They're always like, hey, have you tried this or this? Oh, if you're having this problem, you should try this. And so that community is really, really cool. So, Ian and I share tips with each other all the time, and he tries to sabotage my show, but it's okay. It's just all done in good fun. Good, clean fun.
What we do, isn't it? Yeah. What we do. And Grace clarifies, she uses the C920. So
right. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start to be very jealous of David here. So David is showing what he's got. He's using Sony's, the A7 III and the A6600. And as if that wasn't enough, the Nikon D3500, so or 3500. So yeah, this is interesting because I'm actually quite tempted that my next camera is going to be a Sony because I've seen so many great results. The M50s, I love the M50, and there's so many good things about it, but there's a few little hacks that you have to, little hurdles you have to jump over. Whereas Sony, the problem with the Sony is you do need to get a capture card like the Camlink 4K, but I think the quality is really good. So yeah. Now we've got a very dodgy joke from Carl. There is a rumor video killed the radio star. Maybe he had a bad mic. It
probably was a bad mic. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds just like your kind of joke, Jeff.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, so I mean, those are great cameras, and I mean, I would love. The thing is for me, is I don't take the M50 off very much. Like I don't take it to. My phone camera does great for like snapshots and around it. So leaving it set up for me has been the coolest thing. My daughter wanted to borrow it. I'm like, nope, sorry, I got it just where I want it. And so I mean, if you can have like a camera that you can leave, that's having a place where you can sit down and go live and don't have to set up lights and do all this stuff, and you will go live more. Because I've been there. I've been in the thing like, okay, I've got to get this ready. I've got to put up my lights now, and I've got to do all this stuff. If you can have some like a dedicated space, that's a good place to think about upgrading too, is like, think about what you can leave permanent, because that makes a big difference when you're starting to go audio, because you will talk yourself out of going going live by going like, oh man, I got to set up those lights and I got to drag out that microphone and hook everything up. And, so yeah, having a space is really important.
Definitely agree. And so the only thing that I move in my studio is my MacBook Pro. And I suppose you don't need to use a laptop. I mean, if you use a desktop, you're probably going to get more power. And it's cheaper probably, but I like the portability. So awesome. Well, we're out of time, Jeff. I can see David has just quick comment from David saying, I'm using the 8M, I don't know how you pronounce it, 80EM Mini Pro as my capture card. Have you I mean, I see a lot of live streamers talking about this. I've not really thought about getting it. David, let us know what your view on that is, how you're getting on with that. I prefer, at the moment, I'm just switching software-wise. What's your view on that?
So I like, Guy Kawasaki uses the ATM Mini, and he uses it a lot of times. He was using it to actually sync up his audio and video because he was using a DSLR, and that's one of the things the ATM Mini can do. You can also do that in software with like Ecamm. You can actually delay your sound and get it synced up that way if you're having an issue. If I was doing multi-camera shoots, I would definitely look at the ATM Mini, but most of the stuff for me is mostly moving through different scenes in Ecamm and with Restream Studio. So I don't have a need for it. I would love it because it's a piece of tech that I don't have, and that's you always covet other people's stuff like David has. But
I know.
Yeah.
David, you've been sharing too many things. We want to upgrade our cameras, and I'll get an ATM Mini Pro. But anyway, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. So just a reminder, your big thing at the moment is your live show. It's every Friday. It's Social Media News Live. How can people find out more about it? And tell us, I don't know, have you announced what's happening this Friday? Or is this,
so it's you can find out. It's at socialmedianewslive.com. We are every Friday, except for this Friday. We're not doing it this Friday. We're doing it Thursday, and we've got Rob from YouTube. TubeBuddy, who's going to be talking about some YouTube news, and we're doing it on Thursday because I get my second shot to get rid of this COVID thing on Friday, so I couldn't do it on Friday, so we moved it to Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all those time zones.
All the time
well,
zones,
that's very exciting. I had my shot on last Friday. I know I don't look 105, but I age well. So.
What are you saying about me then? Come on, man.
I'm not saying anything about you.
End of the show, you insult me. Jeez.
So yeah, do check out Jeff's show, Social Media News Live, and I always pop in and see it. It's always a great. If you wanted to learn all about all the latest in the social media world, you need to check it out. But it's this Thursday, not Friday.
This Thursday,
on a Friday.
And Grace is going to be there as my co-host. So
who's going to be there?
Grace, she's going to be my co-host.
Grace, awesome. The awesome Grace is going to be there. So you definitely need to see that. And David, just a comment from David just before we finish. It allows me to switch the cameras. I don't have the Stream Deck. Plus, you can go live with it. Ooh, yes. Very nice. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jeff. And just to say, thank you so much for watching today. It's been awesome to see you here. And this show goes live every single Tuesday at the same time. We broadcast to all those different destinations using the power of Restream. And this show is all about how you can gain your confidence using, increasing your confidence, improving your communication, and optimizing your mindset. So until next time, toodaloo.